Hello, today I'm going to be going over Koumei here. So both of the builds I'm going to be showing off both use the same shard setup. They are both 2 yellow casting speed Tau Forge shards and 3 orange 10% ability damage on enemies affected by radiation status effect shards. However, it should be noticed that, or should be mentioned that these can be either the ability damage on corrosive or ability damage on electric shards as well. I just had these 3 oranges available. This shard setup is from Moog's video on it, and I tried it out, liked them a lot. They work very good on Koumei. This null star build, or helmet, is also from his video, and this is sort of my take on it. I wanted to make sort of a hybrid build, so this is both a spamming build using mech and power to get nukes, as well as null star and Koumei Hemo to do damage, as well as it is focusing a lot on weapons. So we have Mikuji's Fortune, as well as Hotshot to take advantage of Null Star, as Null Star sets off and basically keeps Hotshot up to 100% constantly. And then this can really be whatever weapon sort of buffing you want. If you want fire rate, I'm using acceleration because I'm going to be mostly using the Higashi. Also got velocity if you're using secondaries, tempo for shotguns. We have strike if you're going to be using melees, which melee is actually very good with this build. As well as there is Arachne for that extra 150% damage, and this also applies to your null stars. So Arachne is very good here as well, and that's actually the arcane I was using mostly, but I like acceleration a lot as well. But yeah, as I said before, I'm using the Higashi. I've messed around with a bunch of different ones. This was a blast, blast toxin build. That was pretty decent. As well as I've seen corrosive cold ones. However, I think just sort of very generic heat viral deadhead is probably the best, as well as because this has pretty decent slash. So all those sort of just work really well together. As for the melee, again, her signature weapon, just using general melee influence. Amanada here, melee influence works really well with this, with basically polearms in general, because of Boreal's Contempt, giving us that plus 60% status damage, plus the plus 80% from this. Basically makes it so influence does a lot of damage. Of course, ban mods are better, but I do not like using ban mods, so I just use this. Conditioned Fury works very well on this build, as we are going to be status crowning everything to hell and back with Koumei Hemo here, if that's how you pronounce it. Apologies in advance. For Companion, here's Kubro here, using Mecha Set again. Hunter Recovery, don't really need to replace that with whatever you want. The main thing is to have stock, just as a nice invisibility every once in a while, to let us collect ourselves if something goes bad. As for the claws, there you go. And yeah, I'm going to be doing this in a normal mission again, instead of simulacrums. Oops, that is not what I want to click. Circulus here is still the highest base level enemies in the game. I believe, what was it? An old piece is up to, what was it, 770 base, something like that. From these guys.
The Oregon Neural Sentry is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support.
I'll wait for some enemies. At first here is very good just to sort of throw one of these down and kill stuff with your melee until you can get your energy up. If you want to use preparation instead of whatever I was running in the Exilus, you can. If you want to use energy pads, you can. I typically don't mind just running around fighting enemies, though. I do not know where this is. Steel Path, right? Oh yeah, here are all the enemies are over here for some reason. As you can see, Amanada, even without all the elemental buffing, still very good. Here we go. And it's affected by heat status. That is very easy to do. One thing to note is that primed hotshot. I'm trying to go in here a bit. Primed hotshot does also apply to your melee weapons. So this build does work very well with melee, as you can see here. But yeah, start using the Gaussa here a bit now. I suggest for casting 3 to 4 times for each group of enemies you want to kill. And works well because with the cooldown on your 4, you can cast your 3 about 3 to 4 times before you're able to cast your 4 again. As you can see here, visibility is nice for things like that if your weapon gets taken. That was either a mecha or a contagious bond. So basically we're also going to be getting mecha and contagious bond nukes. Very nice. 2 rolling gets ammo efficiency. Nice. As you can see, pretty decent single target damage. However, the reason I was messing around with Blast is to try to make this do more sort of AoE damage, but it does good enough with this. You have your melee if you want to do more AoE stuff. Kill enemies while sliding. But yeah, that's basically this first build here. Spend too much time here because I do have a second build. But yeah, the second build here is actually using Breach Surge instead of Null Stars on the first ability instead of the fourth ability. So here we are. So this is a pure spamming cast build. We have Crepuscular Impetus, because now that we are going to just not be shooting weapons at all, we will be invisible 24/7. Meaning we'll have that 3 times final critical damage, and with Worthy Camaraderie, making it so our Breach Surges can crit. This does apply to Breach Surge, as well as Tenacious Bond on our pet here also applies, so that is an extra 4.2 times critical damage multiplier to our Breach Surges. Got Impetus for the ability strength and ability efficiency. Besides that, we have decent strength for our Breach Surge and our Bunraku, if it's pronounced like that, ability damage. Apologies again, I'm saying it wrong. And then, yeah. Besides that, because we're invisible, we're no longer using Archon Vitality, although if you really want to, you can put that here. This is basically your flex spot for this build. Apologies, can't speak currently, apparently. But yeah, other than that, build's basically the exact same. Just changes that little bit there. So I will say I do personally think the other build is better. However, this build is sort of more consistent in just being invisible, so it is up to you. You have your Umamori for healing in case you get hit while invisible.
And the enemy calls for a song.
There we go, we're invisible, and basically we will be invisible for the rest of the match now. As long as there are enemies within about 24 meters. So we do need to get some kills off the bat, so I am actually going to do this, just to get our energy up.
If you have a necromech, this would be an excellent place to deploy it.
That's good. I'm just going to use my things here. There we go. Hopefully we can get visible here in a second. There we go. And basically, we just do that. Spam your 1 and 4. Not as much spamming as the other build, but basically whenever you come across a new group of enemies, press 1, press 4, and you kind of just kill everything. This works very well also with the orange radiation shards, as your Breach Surge has a 20% chance to apply radiation statuses, so you're just even more likely to do that increased ability damage. Yeah, that is basically this build, just much more ability focused. Obviously, depending on what you roll, you may not get exactly what you want. So, see, that is an issue. If your dog does go down, you lose your invisibility. However, you still have Umamori, which is very good for survivability, so not too much to worry about. Yeah, that is basically it for this build. They're both very similar, just spamming your 1 or 4. It just depends on what helmet you are and what one of her 2 status proc abilities you want. I did try using Breach Surge on the 4 for this build as well, but I found that you need the damage that 4 does in order to properly trigger the Breach Surges to do some damage. But yeah, as you can see, it doesn't do too much KPM. It's just sort of a fun, different thing to do with her. But yeah, that is it for Koumei. Thank you for watching.